What's up, Dragon Brood? So today is day 3 of previews. I feel like being in the time of COVID, as I like to call it. We actually get lost in time at this stage. But anyway, we are on day 3 of Zendikar Rising Previews, and there was a lot of cool stuff that got previewed yesterday. I feel like day 1 was a bunch of just like run it all out there and get people hyped. Day 2 was kind of like, okay, here's more of the feel of the set. Day 3 is just like, look how awesome this is. So there's going to be a lot of stuff to cover. We're going to bang through it. Let's get started. A few things popped up late yesterday, so we're going to try to cover those as well. But here we're looking at Swarm Shambler. It's a 1 mana, 0/0 technically, but it enters the battlefield with a 1/1. It's a creature fungus beast. When a creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it becomes a target of a spell an opponent controls, create a 1/1 green insect token. Pay 1, tap it, put a +1/+1 counter on Swarm Shambler. This is some of the most text you get on a 1 mana creature, but the cool part is it is a 1/1. You can play it early. If your opponent has a blocker, you can just start putting +1/+1 counters on it. And if you have some deck that takes advantage of the +1/+1 counters, you can make tokens every time your opponent targets a creature to kill it. So this will work in the Selesnya +1/+1 counters deck. It'll work on whatever new black-green or black-white or, I don't know, maybe even Abzan +1/+1 tokens thing that comes out. Or if you just have enough creatures that happen to get bonuses and you can use this, it's also a way to kind of keep your board going wide, you know, even after they eliminate a couple of things. So overall, this is a pretty quality card. I don't know how often it gets played, but I do know that we've been looking for some other 1 mana creatures in the aggressive green deck, so maybe this is it. I was about to say Revenger. It's Ravager's Mace. 1 colorless, black, red. It's an artifact, equipment. When Ravager's Mace enters the battlefield, attach it to target creature you control. Equipped creature gets +1/+0 for each creature in your party and has menace. This is kind of doing 2 things. Like, 1, it's actually giving you a tool for those menace decks and other things, which is kind of cool. We do have one of those videos that we posted up, I think, 2 weeks ago, if you want to check that out, from Center 2021. But beyond that, it is kind of showing what we're going to be doing with equipment. So far, I believe all the equipment we've seen actually say when they come into play, attach it to a creature. So we're making equipment even more efficient where you can just play it and immediately get the bonus, which is a huge change from where we have been. However, the equip cost for this is pretty difficult. It is 2, a red, and a black. So once the creature dies and you have to put it on something else, it does become a little bit of a hindrance, but maybe it's worth it since you're getting something that does have menace in addition to getting a bonus. Well, you know, I can get behind this card. Nighthawk Scavenger. It is a colorless, black, creature, vampire, rogue, flying, death touch, lifelink. Its power is equal to the number of cards, or types of cards, card types, there you go, among cards in your opponent's graveyard. So basically this does the Tarmogoyf thing. Your card types being, you know, creature, enchantment, artifact, that type of stuff, right? So this is kind of interesting. Now we are starting to see some things where for the first time, maybe we have enough rogues that care about the same thing. There's been another card previewed that also cares about having cards in your opponent's graveyard. There's other cards that we're going to talk about today that actually talk about cards being your opponent's graveyard. So maybe, just maybe, this is one of the cards we've been looking for to make that happen. Also, this card is just all around quality. I mean, it's flying, death touch, lifelink, and it's only 3 mana. Almost always gonna be at least like a 2-ish power creature, so not bad. And it fits into a couple different themes, whether you want to play rogues, vampires, a death touch deck, which, you know, we did that a couple days ago. So there are definitely options where this belongs. I expect this card to get some amount of play for sure. Just wanted to throw this out there for the filthy casuals that really want to build that rogue deck. Here's one that matters. It's a colorless, black, 2/2. Has death touch as long as you control another rogue. That's right what you want. Honestly, like getting a bunch of rogues that have death touch or flying or menace, and they care about cards in the graveyard, and you have other things that are doing it. Now we have enough things to start putting together a rogue deck. We can finally start putting this to rest. Expect me to build one of these probably within the first week or so after set releases, and we can finally do it. So this is one of the lower cost demons I think we've ever seen in Magic, but Tabarax, Hope's Demise, 2 colorless, black, legendary creature, demon, cleric, flying. This card has lifelink as long as it has 5 or more counters on it. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Tabarax. If that creature was a cleric, you may draw a card. If you do, lose 1 life. So lots of things going on here. It's already a quality card in and of itself, right? When something else dies, this is going to get bigger. So you can just run your creatures in, play normally like you would. It does fly, so it has evasion. But if you're building around a cleric theme and you have this is kind of a cool bonus. Or any way to sacrifice your clerics, because then you get to draw a card, you do lose a life, but you're also pumping this creature and advancing your hand in the game state. So I'm kind of okay with this. Now, it feels like you have to do a little bit of build around type technology to make it work, but it could be worth it. Worst case scenario, I'm sure there's a very cool commander deck somebody's already theorizing with this. You know, sooner or later, these Is It spells or Is It flash decks are gonna come together, but here's Umara Mystic, 1 colorless, 1 blue, 1 red, creature, merfolk, wizard, flying. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery or wizard spell, Umara Mystic gets +2/+0 until the end of turn, and it's a 1/3. So this is actually a pretty quality card. I don't know if it really fits totally within the scheme of what the decks have been trying to do, but it is neat that you can have a 2 mana play, a 3 mana play, a 4 mana play that all care about you casting spells and getting bonuses. The only downside is the bonus obviously isn't permanent here, but it is a +2 instead of a +1, which we see on a lot of these types of cards. So I would say it's possible that this card gets some play. It does fly, so that helps. So if you're in the market for something like this, maybe this is what you needed as that gap filler in those deck lists. Maul of the Skyclaves. 2 colorless, 1 white, artifact, equipment. When Maul of Skyclaves enter the battlefield, attach it to target creature you control. Equipped creature gets +2/+0, has flying, or +2/+2, and has flying and first strike. Equip is 2 colorless, white. Man, I feel like I need a Hank Hill soundboard button here, because man, this card ain't right. Like it's good. It's just really good. You know, if you're playing even decks you wouldn't necessarily think about, like let's say you're playing those Selesnya +1/+1 counters decks, right, where you get 2 or 3 big creatures out, but you can't punch through just yet because you don't have something with trample. Like you literally just put one of your 6/6, 8/8 whatevers into the air flying, and now it's +2/+2, and that's just it, right? I mean, this is actually really good. I mean, if you're playing an aggressive deck where there's even just like Boros Knights, humans, clerics, like you have to really consider this card. All right, so this one's interesting. This is Zendikon. 3 colorless, 1 green. It's an aura. Enchant land. Enchanted land is a 4/4 elemental creature with reach and haste. It's still a land. When the land dies, return this card to its owner's hand. Or actually, when the land dies, return that card to the owner's hand. So the interesting thing is this kind of works if you have a land that when it enters the battlefield maybe does something. It does give you a haste creature of sorts. My problem with this type of card though is that maybe it's just not the card you're looking for, because green already has other quality 4 mana things you'll want. I mean, you're talking about possibly hard casting Gem Razor. You've got Questing Beast, you know, things of that nature that are just really good cards right now in Standard that you just aren't going to want to replace for a card like this. I'm sure there's a spot for it, especially if you have a way to sacrifice your lands and replay the lands, and that's important to a landfall type deck. But right off the bat, I'm not sure this is the card we're looking for. Cleansing Wildfire, 1 colorless, 1 red, sorcery, destroy target land. Its controller may search their library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, tapped, then shuffle the library, draw a card. This is kind of neat. It draws a card, it destroys a land, but it does let them replace it. The only benefit here really is if you're worried about them playing some special land that's problematic for you. This probably is better in older formats, especially when people are, or I don't know, maybe even Commander, right? You want to get rid of somebody's Gaia's Cradle, or somebody's flipped their search for Escanta. However, in Standard, there will be the castles and whatnot you can destroy and have them just go get a basic. That's totally reasonable. Where does this fit? I don't know. Is this the card we're looking for to sideboard against things, or do we main deck it? I don't know. It's tough because it does replace itself, which makes it playable, and you can actually use it on your own stuff. Like, let's say you just need to get rid of a land so you can find another one so you can have 2 mana of the same color to cast your next spell. That's a thing you can do. So, I don't know. I'm kind of torn on this card. I do like the space they're thinking in is from a design standpoint, but we'll see. I think this is going to be a better card in older formats, though. Mind Carver, 1 black. When Mind Carver enters the battlefield, attach it to target creature you control. Equipped creature gets +1/+0. It gets +3/+1 instead, as long as an opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard. Equip cost is 2 and a black. I like this card. You know, it's cheap. You know, it's only 1 black. Gives your creature a bonus right off the bat when you play it, which is awesome. But it does give you a much bigger bonus, again, if we're playing toward the theme the deck's already trying to do. And now that we've seen multiple cards that care about more cards in your opponent's graveyard, this kind of fits right in. And being able to give something +3/+1 for 1 mana is huge. And it's permanent until they kill the creature. Then you just pay 3 and move it on to the next thing. And this fits into quite a few different decks potentially as well. So I'm really digging this one. You know, especially when you look at stuff like maybe even Rakdos Knights or something can find a way to work this into those deck lists. All right, so here we have Zagras, Thief of Heartbeats, 4 colorless, a black, a red, legendary creature, vampire rogue. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature in your party. Flying, death touch, haste, lots of keywords. Other creatures you control have death touch, also great. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a planeswalker, destroy that planeswalker. So much stuff going on with this card that I like. It's a 4/4 flyer, which is awesome. It has death touch, which may or may not matter that much since it flies. However, it does let you block and kill something if necessary. It has haste, which is really big. Other creatures you control get death touch, which means, especially if you're playing counters or something small, you can win those combats. And then as a bonus, whenever your creatures damage planeswalkers, you get to kill them. I think we also saw this on another black death touch creature, so it's kind of awesome that that's a thing. I don't know where this fits. This is pretty cool, though. I mean, if you can come up with any type of reasonable deck to play this, this is a good top-end card for a lot of decks. And it's very possible that you can turn 1, some type of creature for the party, turn 2, another party member, turn 3, now this only costs 4 mana, so it's like, you know, maybe you play it on turn 4, and you get to play another removal spell with it, potentially. You know, so there's a few spots where this card could be really devastating and really come after your opponent. So don't undersell this card. I'm sure I'm going to lose a couple of games to it. But yeah, I like what it's doing overall. All right, so this one's a little weird because it's in a different language, so I'm going to have to read a different translation here. But it's Inscription of Abundance, 1 colorless, green, instant, kicker of 2 colorless and a green, and you choose one of these options. If it's kicked, you choose any number. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature. Target player gains X life, where X is the greatest power among creatures that player controls. Target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. And this is an instant. I like this card a lot. I mean, being able to offensive or defensively put in 2 bonuses on a creature, so you can give a creature +2/+2, and it's permanent. It puts the counters on it, right? That's a thing. Then you can also gain life. If you're in a situation against, say, a red deck, and they're coming at you, you're like, okay, well, I've got a 4/4 or a 5/5 out here. Let me gain some life. Do that. Or I can just have something fight something. And in the best case scenario, late game, you draw this, it does all 3 things, which are fantastic. Like, this is a great card, honestly. I mean, this is tough. Like, I mean, y'all know I've been in love with, like, Primal Might, but maybe we're playing this, and I don't know, maybe it replaces Primal Might. I don't know, Primal Might's too good. Maybe it replaces Ram Through in some of the deck lists, but regardless, this is very cool. I'm a big fan of this card. All right, Relic Robber, 2 colorless, red, creature, goblin, rogue, haste. Whenever Relic Goblin deals damage to a player, that player creates a 0/1 colorless goblin construct artifact creature. That thing has a lot of subtypes there. Token with this creature can't block, and at the beginning of your upkeep, this creature deals 1 damage to you. So this card is cool, cute, interesting. I don't know if it's any good. It does cost 3 mana, which is a little bit of a downside, but it does have haste. And every time it damages your opponent, it just sets up bonus damage. And it's an 0/1, so you're not worried about it attacking you, but it does give them fodder if they want to sacrifice something. So, I don't know. I feel like there is more going on with this card than I'm immediately identifying. It's neat. I don't think we really play it, but I do at least appreciate what they did with this. I'm not so excited that it's a rare, but I kind of get it. So this is an interesting card too. I don't really know. I mean, this card, even beyond interesting, it's just looks like it's going to be a fun thing to try to fit in and build around, right? It's what I call intriguing. It gives you something to do, but still you're going to have to work for it a little bit. But Seagate Stormcaller, it's a colorless and a blue creature, human wizard. Kicker is expensive. It's 4 and a blue. When Seagate Stormcaller enters the battlefield, copy the next instant or sorcery spell with converted mana cost 2 or less. You cast this... Oh, or less. You cast this turn when you cast it. So, you play it, you cast a spell that costs 2 or less, you can copy it. But, if it was kicked, you copy that spell twice instead, and then you can choose new targets for the copies. This card, I think, still could fit in those Is It Spells decks because almost everything they're playing is like 2 mana anyway, or 1 because they are playing like Shocks and Ops, things like that. So that makes sense. And this is a 2/1. It's not like an undersized 2 mana creature or anything. It's got some sweet art. Overall, though, I would consider this in that style of deck. You know, being able to maybe play this, then play, say, like Scorching Dragonfire or something and take out 2 creatures could be pretty beneficial for 4 mana. I mean, yeah, let's talk about this card. I think it's actually got a little bit of play. All right, here's another one we have in another language, so I'm gonna read this off over here. Yosharn Terra, Yosharn Relentless Land is kind of how it was quoted, but I think it's actually Implaceable Terrain, I think is what they're actually calling the card. But anyway, it's 2 colorless, green-white, legendary creature, Elemental Boar, which is kind of a cool creature type. When Yosharn Relentless Land enters the battlefield, search your library for a basic forest and a basic plains and put them into your hand. Players cannot pay life or sacrifice non-land permanents to cast cards or use activated abilities. This is neat. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that requires you to either sacrifice a thing to get an ability. There's a lot of things that you can pay life instead to do certain things. This is a very big commander card because that's a big commander mechanic as well. And it's a 4/4 for 4. It's not like it's chump change. It does help you find extra lands. I could see this card both being a main deck card, just being efficient 4/4 for 4 that lets you search for 2 lands if nothing else, but also just be a sideboard card against some of those things it's targeting. Will it get a lot of play? I don't know if I would say a lot, but it definitely will see some. And I'd also be doing you a disservice if I didn't probably mention the best double face card so far in this set. It's Ameria's Call is 4 white, white, white. So yes, that is 7 mana. Create 2 4/4 white angel warrior creature tokens with flying. Non-angel creatures you control gain indestructible until your next turn, which is super awesome. So you get you basically get 8 power, 8 defense worth of creatures, and everything you control has indestructible until end of turn. So you can run them in, not worry about your board being swept, stuff like that. But the other side is Amaria Shattered Skyclave. As Amaria Shattered Skyclave enters the battlefield, you may pay 3 life. If you don't, it enters the battlefield tapped. So where several of these double face cards that are also lands have the land side come in tapped, you can pay 3 life here and just have this come in untapped. So you don't even have to have a down turn, which is pretty cool. Do we play this in stuff like the life gain clerics type decks? Like maybe. It keeps you on time for land. And the cool part about this type of card is historically whenever we see these super expensive spells with this really big top end ability, we don't usually get the option to play more than one of them, right? Because if they get stuck in your hand, you're never going to get to cast them early or whatever, and it just feels bad. So we end up just not playing it at all. However, here in this case, you could put 2 of these in your deck, or even 3 if you wanted to. Worst case scenario, it's just a land when it comes up. Or you could even replace a couple of lands on the lower end and still play this, and if early you get one, just pay the 3 life, have it come into play untapped. So like, this card could end up being a pretty pricey mythic in the set, depending on how the format shakes out. All right, I think we covered a bunch of stuff today, everybody. Day 3 had a lot of good stuff. Lots of interesting things, lots of exciting things, lots of fun things. We kind of got to see further direction and where the set's headed. And it was just a lot of cards. So I'm sorry this got a little longer than I wanted it to. There was a lot of things, and I didn't even get to say everything I wanted to say about every card. So worst case scenario, you can catch me on stream and we can discuss more about this set. And also don't forget, I do have a preview card myself on Friday the 4th, is it? Yeah, the 4th. I had to check a calendar. Again, the time of COVID is making things kind of go kind of crazy time-wise. But yes, on the 4th, we'll be doing that at 9 a.m. And I'll also be streaming at 9 a.m. Actually, probably about 9:05, right after the video goes live, as we'll be doing a charity thing to help support the Hunter Burton Memorial, which is a cool charity about preventing suicide and suicide awareness. And it's just all around good stuff. So come on, check me out over there. Links to all this stuff is down below. But that's all I have for you for now. We'll see you next time.